from. I don't care if it's even about what I'm about to answer that question too. So the guys that applied something last year, what anybody want to say is that word that you applied or no? One person?
Oh,
Yes.
well, we did a charter with you.
Yeah, besides that, yes.
No, I'm saying when we learned, I learned how to drop shot wacky work. And I did continue to do that through the year.
Yes.
And it was very successful all year long.
Yeah. So last year, me and Ed and his wife did a guy trip on the Upper Bay. Did we cancel any of them, or was it hopper into it? Because I had a lot of cancellations.
Well, you moved to the week. She's not my wife. She's like my partner in crime.
Okay, partner, that's
Right.
right.
But yeah, it was like the week before you said the conditions weren't right, and it's all good a week.
So this past spring, I do part of the Upper Bay. This past spring, I had to cancel a lot because you guys know the weather was absolutely horrible, wind, rain, all that stuff. Well, I had cancel, and I got to Ed and I canceled one time. I said, you guys just want to go? Yeah, so we went. We had a awesome day fishing, but they got soaked. And it wasn't because it was raining. We went for long runs. We basically were on a pattern that, you know, I try to explain it. Something I do. Just because you read a magazine, you do what you do, doesn't mean that's how the fish happens. Okay? Me and Ed were in a scenario where it was super early in the season. I've been out there every day, so I do know the difference. I told him, I said, listen, there's a spurt of fish that came up. I mean, it's been cold, it's been nasty, they were spawning. Respawning, spawning. So I basically told him, I said, listen, there's 3 spots that we're going to run to. One small way, you guys want to go, we'll go. So we ran down there. Yes, 1, 2 out of that, 1, or none of that.
Well, we started at the pier on Harbor Farm.
Yeah.
And we caught a bunch of like 14 and a half.
Yeah, so they were smaller ones. Then I told Ed, so I got another one. If you get them this big spot, it's not nice for the beats. Yeah, hammer these fish that nobody sees fishing for. You know what I'm saying? So that's good.
You want my over there, my thing?
Not good.
Walk over here by this thing. May not be real good here. Alright. Put that right on your shirt right here.
So does that work? I'm sorry.
It works.
No, I mean for here.
No, it works. I'll do monitoring after a few minutes.
Okay.
So, number 3.
Yes, hear me. How's it look, guys? Look good?
Yeah.
So this is our 3rd seminar of the day. Greg DiPalma, big news, gigantic news, latest addition to the 2019 Bassmasters Elite Series Tour. What a huge thing, man. Gigantic. Last minute, man, he got in, worked tail end off for a couple of years, and it paid off, and he got in, and we're really happy to see that happen. And he's going to be driving around on the sfttackle.com wrap on his boat too, so that was really cool. Gets to wear our, not having to wear our logo. And Greg's been just a really great stand-up guy, and I've always loved his drive, and I've always loved his passion, and he just does things a lot different than a lot of people, and he does very well. So we're expecting some really great stuff out of Greg, but he is going to follow a bunch of stuff, do a bunch of stuff on Facebook. We're going to do a bunch of stuff on Facebook and follow him throughout his tour through the whole series. We're going to do some cool stuff. We're going to give away some cool stuff. We're going to maybe post a discount pin.
Yeah, whatever you guys will do, I am we.
And we're going to do some really cool stuff following Greg. So what you got to do is like Greg's Facebook page and Instagram. Get on Susquehanna's Facebook page and Instagram and like those, and or sign up for our emails on our website, through our website, because that's where we're going to put all this stuff out there. It's like a little mini thing within a thing, that we're going to do with Greg. So it's going to be really exciting. We're still working out the details on it. Some of this stuff I don't even think I can talk to you about, but I got it all planned.
tell them. I got it all planned.
You're in good hands.
Yeah.
So really excited. I'll let you go, Greg. And enjoy the seminar and ask Greg a bunch of questions because he really knows what he's doing, all right? I'm going to stand here for a minute. I want to stand here for a little bit. He blows up for us.
And so we're not going to talk about anything fishing for like 5 minutes because Mike's still inside here and I do fish against him. So we're going to talk about something. Speaking of SFT logo, you guys didn't get fat. So one of the guys pointed out that logo could not have hit my belly any better, right? I mean,
Perfect.
So if you guys don't know about me, I am 100% Italian. I do eat pasta about 5 days a week. That's a true story. And I got no problem putting that a pound and a half myself every single time.
It's unbelievable.
So that's why this thing's growing a little bit, but I guess it's gonna catch up sometimes. Yeah. So anyway, kind of one thing that I really try to do when I go fishing, and believe it or not, most of the stuff that I've learned that we're gonna talk about a little bit, I learned at home. And not on the road. I learned at home because the reason I learned it at home is because I'm relentless. I do not stop fishing the same bodies of water over and over and over. And I don't care if I'm A, catching them or B, not catching them. I'm still out there trying to learn what I'm going to do. So kind of like what Mike said, the one thing that I do is, you know, there's detail and then there's Greg DiPalma. I kind of get really deep into stuff and sometimes maybe I'm a little bit crazy, but, you know, I catch a lot of fish, so I'm doing something right. A couple of the things that I can tell you that we'll jump into. We'll jump into a rod selection. Kind of just, you know, something you guys can look forward to if you were to purchase a new rod and reel, or if you take your time with that home and maybe switch them up a certain way that I'm going to tell you how I kind of pitch them. Okay? So I'm just going to give you a broad example. So let's say, put this off here, not drop all these rocks. Let's say I'm throwing a drop shot. Okay, which I do a lot, okay? And this goes for any brand rod and reel you're throwing. You know, I'm not trying to pick a rod and reel and try to push anything on you guys. I'll never do that. So, for example, this is a drop shot on here. This would not be the rod and reel. It would be the rod, but not the reel that I would throw my drop shot on. And the reason being is, I'm going to explain it to you. So, I had somebody actually hold one of these, tell me the difference. So feel that rod, okay? So basically what that setup is it's not the same rod because they have the same water stock. So that's a 7-foot medium, the 7-foot medium heavy. But, you know, to feel the blanks yourself, you're not going to really feel a difference. The biggest thing that I do, so if I'm throwing a drop shot, you know, feel this rod. Feel how much heavier that is? That's a lot heavier. It's still not a heavy reel by no means, but you want back real quick. So, for example, this is the Shimano CI4 Plus reel. It's, you know, it's a little bit expensive. It's about $250 reel, somewhere in that ballpark, but it's super duper light. Okay, and you know, lightness is really cool. Okay, you don't get fatigue, all that good stuff, blah blah blah. But when it comes down to, for me, when it comes down to drop shotting, this is the setup I want to have. Really light reel, real light rod, and the reason for that being is because when you're doing like traditional drop shotting where you're dropping down, you know, on your graph and you're looking at the fish, video game the fish, with the light reel, okay, what the difference is going to be, if you guys travel the country a lot, and a lot of times you get in these bodies of water that are really hard to get the fish to bite, and not only hard to get them to bite, sometimes the bite is so subtle. That's where this light reel comes in. And the reason being the light reel is going to make a difference is because it's going to give me now a lot more rod tip as far as weight goes. Okay, so if I'm dropping down fish, I want a rod that's going to have a lot more tip weight because the tip weight is already going to be facing down that way to where now if I get the bite, that weight's going to come through the rod to my hand because it's not at my hand. That makes sense to you guys? Does that make sense? Okay, so for example, when I throw a rod with a heavier spinning reel, it's real simple. Just think about it this way. So now I got the heavier rod on, or heavier reel on. You know, I'm not going to drop shot with this one because now I want to have some kind of butt weight. Okay, and when do I want butt weight? It's real simple. Anytime I have the rod elevated and I'm pulling, like a shaky head style. Okay, now that I have the butt weight, now the rod tips really light up top. Now I'm going to feel a lot more bites because I got a little more weight down this way. Does that make sense, everybody? It's something that's never thought about as far as a lot of average fishermen go, but it's the stuff that I think about, like, as I'm fishing, I'm like, you know what? It does work a lot better that way. So now I have the weight on the bottom. Now when I'm pulling, what's it gonna do? The lightness of the tip now is gonna pull down faster. Does that make sense, everybody? Versus having it the other way around. So like I said, so when you're drop shotting, now you're going straight down on the fish, you want that tip to be super duper like that. Right? You guys everybody got that? So, there we go. So for a bait caster, I'll do the same exact thing, only when I'm flipping. If I'm using some kind of weight that I have to elevate the rod tip up, that's why I want the heavier reel on there. Okay? This is Phantom. And like I said, by no means it's not heavy, but it's a different feel because it is about an ounce heavier versus a Tron, MGM. So it's just something to think about all the time. So when you're like, so if you're cranking, you want the kind of lighter. You got your rod tip up, you want the weight down the bottom. Does that make sense, everybody? It's something that's going to give you a few more bites. Like when you're on Lake Erie and you're dropping down in the smallmouth and they go in, out. You'll miss a fish like that if you're not feeling what I'm feeling. It's that little subtle difference that makes a big difference. Okay? Anybody got any questions about that kind of stuff with the rods? No? All right, let's get a little bit deeper with rods. So, for example, this might look big to you. I'll actually pass it around so you guys can see this rod. Looking at this rod, it's got a huge diameter to it, which a lot of cranking sticks do have that. Okay, but this is basically the cranking stick. This is a glass model. It's a part. There's a poly glass. This is basically the rod. So if I'm throwing rattle traps, and I'm not target fishing by no means. You're out in the flat, you're casting, fan casting all over. This is the rod that I use. It might look big to you for a half-ounce rattle trap, but this is the rod that I use for the simple fact that if you're going to throw a really big crankbait, so how many of you guys sat in Oliver's seminar? Anybody? Okay. He probably talked about maybe swim baiting. Does that sound about right? That sounds about Oliver. So 9 times out of 10, or I would say 10 out of 10, Oliver's got a pretty big rod, don't he? As far as fishing goes. Yeah. You know why? Because he wants to make sure that he is not overpowered by the bait that he's throwing. Does that make sense to everybody? If you're throwing a 8 ounce or whatever he's throwing, a 3 ounce or 4 ounce big swim bait out there, he has to have a rod that not only can handle the size fish he's catching, but he has to have a rod that can handle the size bait he's throwing. And I see a lot of guys to where they might, use their rod and reel, but they're using the wrong setup. It's almost like, I'm going to try to move it, I don't know if it's going to work. All right. It's almost like, so if you were to throw a monster crankbait out there, okay, let's say my rod's too light, my crankbait's too big. What's that crankbait gonna do? It's actually gonna overpower me and pull me to where I'm not fishing that bait properly, okay? So when it comes to rattle trap fishing, which I do a lot of, and I think I'm pretty darn good at it. So when I throw my trap out there, half ounce, 3/4 ounce trap with this rod, I know that I am powering that rattle trap. That rattle trap is not powering me. You never want to get overpowered with your lures, okay? Never. Because it'll put you in a bad situation where a lot of times you can lose the fish. You're not going to properly sink them barbs into the fish. When I get a bite on a rattle trap, I know guys, Fritz might talk about, he might just reel it in. That's the way he does it. Not me. These rods are made to load. That's why they're so flimsy. So when I get a bite, I sweep right into it. I want to make sure that it hits that hook, it goes right in the bar. Okay? A lot of times I get the fish, I got every single hook on that thing buried in sticks. So you always want to make sure you're not underpowered what you throw. Okay? The only time that I would say the crankbait style that you're going to want to, not necessarily underpower yourself, but go smaller is when you're actually target fishing. Okay? Target fishing being like you're throwing a square bill or a rattle trap around a dock, you gotta have a little bit shorter rod if you want to do it properly. If you want to be accurate, I know sometimes traps do fly, but that's just what it is. So that's the only time I'll downsize my rods as far as, I don't want to say underpowering, but I'm throwing close targets. I'm not going on a long cast where I have to have the rod to do it. Okay? So just check yourself on that and make sure on that. So since we're on rattle traps, this might sound minute to you, but this is absolutely huge. If you guys were in my seminar before, if you're like anywhere from 10 or 8 feet or less, I throw 20-pound fluorocarbon religiously on my traps all the time. Because what the 20-pound fluorocarbon does, if you guys heard it before, you heard me tell you. So when you throw that trap out there, let's say on 12-pound test, what's the first thing that trap's going to do? Right to the bottom real quick. Okay. Even though fluoro does sink, if you still go to the heavier diameter, when you throw it out there, what's it have? A lot of friction falling through the water. So when I'm out there fishing in a flotil of 15 or 20 boats in one spot, because we're all fishing in one wintering hole, I'm getting a lot of bites for the reason that with that heavier line and a lot more friction, I'm throwing like, one cast, or I'm throwing one cast to their 2 or 3 casts. They have to reel theirs a lot faster with the lighter diameter rod or line. Most guys will throw 12-pound test on a rod trap. That's what everybody thinks that you should do. I'm here to tell you that you want to go heavy as line as you possibly can all the time, because it's simple enough that when you throw that thing out there with that friction, like 5 feet of water, 7 feet of water, I can reel basically this slow in my rod trap when you see everybody else trying to keep off the bottom. Okay, and if my trap is hovering across the bottom in 1 foot and that's where all the fish, all the bait's at, what am I doing? I'm the strike zone a lot longer than you are. You know what I'm saying? Cast that thing out, let it get down, and then start to retrieve that heavier line. I promise you it makes a huge difference. And not only that, if you ever had a trap fish on and you felt like what I just talked about, where you felt overpowered, now, even with 12-pound tests, sometimes you can feel like you're overpowered, quite the fish. But now with the bigger rod, the bigger line, it's almost like you're not going to go marlin fishing with a, little tiny flip stick, right? You're going to go with something where you are in control. You don't ever want to be out of control. If you're out of control, you're probably going to lose the fish. More time you get that fish up to lift that fish, you never bury them barbs. That's when it comes off, which happens a lot when you throw anything with a truck hook on it. So that's why you want to take it. So let's go for trap. All right, so basically this is the same rattle trap. This is a 3/4 ounce red eye, okay? Now the one thing on this rattle trap that is the biggest difference in the world when you're especially in a pressured situation is same size hooks, but different hooks, okay? One's just a round bed, and one's a really wide gap, okay? Now, the difference is, and I see this a lot when I fish, in the morning, they always seem to bite them on with the smaller hooks. The smaller hooks being the bend size. Because what that's going to allow it to do with the smaller hooks is going to allow the bait to move a lot faster side to side. And if you burst in the water inside of your boat, it's really hard to see. It's when you have a full cast out there, let the bait get down, the bait starts to go, that's when it starts to hunt properly, on that far cast. So when I have the one with the bigger hooks on it, that's a lot more weight, a lot more friction in the water. That has allowed the bait to go really slow like that. Like I'm telling you, in a push situation, that's how I get a lot of the bites, by changing the hooks to a fatter size this thing. Because it's going to take that trap down from all that speed to really slow. Does that make total sense to everybody? And you can do that with all the smaller crankbaits. And your big crankbaits, you put them giant, big old wide hooks on them, you can get them down a foot deeper too. Yes.
You can change the speed of the wobble by this rate of reel?
Yes, you definitely can change it by the rate of the reel. But, most of the time, well, I'll say this. So it always seems like early fall, when it starts getting cold a little bit, that's when, for me, when the pumping comes in and the speed comes in. Okay, where that doesn't play as big as a role, but when it's like coming out of the winter or getting into the winter, this is where this plays tremendously. On a normal retrieve that you would do, because it allows that bait to either do this or do this by changing the hook set. Okay, so pretty cool little tip right there. Yes, sir.
When you say smaller hooks, what size do you use?
Okay, so it depends on the trap size. So if you're throwing like, let's say, a 1/2 ounce red eye, which everybody throws, number 4.
Okay.
So a number 4, it either be, so what I'm talking about, you can get a triple grip, which is bigger, heavier wire but a wider gap, or you can get like a high boost with just a round bed. Okay, and they're the two hooks I kind of throw mostly because there's such a dramatic difference in both of hooks. Okay, so anything with a big giant round bend on it, that's going to slow your trap. Small, just speed it up. It's just simple, you know, this is how it is. But that makes a huge difference, it really does.
3/4, what size do you start?
3/4, 2 out, number 2. Yep. So, yeah, and that's the other thing too. And so if you're, there's some days where the bite is like, if you come off a cold front, sometimes the fish, they won't get the trap. You know what I'm saying? They'll get it like that. That's when I'll actually, on a 1/2 ounce trap, I'll go to number 2, where it looks ridiculous. But, you know, that really slows that trap down as far as any wild. It almost comes to a jerking. It's just no movement whatsoever. But I also have the advantage of, if they're coming into it, and I hit it to them like I said, I can snag it all the time. And get them that way. You know, if you can't see, it's a catch. It's pretty cool. So, one little cool thing. How many of you guys know about the O-ring trick on the swim baits? Any of you guys? Couple guys? Yeah, from me. Okay, so I didn't bring any with me, but so the O-ring trick, I'll just tell you what it is real quick. How many of you guys put O-rings on Senkos? Probably everybody, right? I mean, you want to say what so you can kind of do the same exact thing, but with a swim bait. Okay, well, I found a cool little tiny thing out there. So they do have these in the store. I'm not trying to sell you something, I'm trying to save you some cash. I don't know what these cost, they can't cost anything. Once again, it's something that I took and I changed what it was used for. So this is called a trailer lock. It's from Hayabusa. Basically, what they're designed for is, to put on like a swim jig or a chatterbait. Okay, and it's real simple. I know it's really small, guys, but you guys see that? It's all this little 2-prong wire, and it's got like a rubber little thing you slide over top of the hook and it locks to the hook. So I'll just break it under so you guys can look at it real quick. So basically, you just take it like you would take a normal trailer hook, you put it on there, and these things last a long time with rubber. And it's all you do. You guys can kind of see that. That's all you do is you just take it. I always bend it in the hair just so you can bite a little better. Take it and you just push it down into the plastic. So it's under like that. So now what that's going to do is, a lot of times what happens when you're throwing a chatterbait or swim jig, you start burning through your rubber because it starts sliding down, or even if you glue it, you know, it comes undone and it still slides down, and then you got to grab another one. Now we don't deal with that at all. It's locked on there. It's not going to come off. Okay. So me thinking to myself, I was like, hey, you know what? I get an O-ring trick. Why don't I do this instead? It's a lot faster, and it's, you know, I just put the bait on and rig it and be done. It's hard to get out of there. It works really good.
What is
so,
sorry, what is that plastic product? What's the...
So it's called a trailer lock. Here, you can look at it so you can see it. You guys can all pass around here how you do it. So then again, like I said, I started thinking about it. So it was meant to work on these, like I said. This is what it was meant for. It was meant for swim jigs and chatterbaits and all that good stuff. Like I said, I started thinking about it. I said, you know what, when I rig a round ball jig head, I might as well try it on my swim bait instead of putting the other on there. So when you're throwing, this is a 4.3 contact. So when you're throwing the 4.3 size, it doesn't really seem to matter that you rig it the same way that I rigged that. Once you get down to like a 3/8 or smaller size swim bait, I recommend taking it and actually rigging it on backwards. Because we rig it on backwards now, you know, the hook could be right here. Now we rig it on backwards on a smaller swim bait. It's going to be on this side. It still does the same thing, but it doesn't take away from any of your tail action. So that's why if I go, you know, 3/8 or smaller, I'll rig it that way. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? You guys, you see it's passing around here. You can see it. It's just, I don't know what they call it, 3-2 caution or something like that, but it is a really good little money saver. So, something to think about if you guys are in the market for swim baits or trailers, all that good stuff. If you got any questions about anything? Yes?
You reel the rattle traps with a steady retrieve when you're talking?
Yes. So his question was, do I reel my traps with steady retrieve? Yes, I do a steady retrieve. So the one thing that I always talk about is, so when I throw that trap out there, okay, I don't want to basically pull the trap along with my reel. So my nice slow retrieve and the heavy pound test line is where that comes in. What that actually does, if you watch me cast out and reel mine in, it actually bows my line. There's a bow in my line, because that's the speed I'm reeling in at. Now what that bow does, because that fluorocarbon weighs a lot more at 20 pound test, it's actually, the line's pulling that trap along. It cannot look any more natural than the way that I'm doing it physically. It cannot. So you throw it out there, you want your retreat to be, most of the time, when they're just right normal, you want your retreat to be where you got a nice little bow going to where your line comes out of your rod tip all the way down to the water. That bow, and the same for throwing swim baits, that bow is going to pull swim bait or chatterbait along, and it's going to look so natural because now I'm not kind of pulling it up, I'm just pulling it along by doing it that way. So I'm real big on 20-pound testing. Once I figured this out a long time ago, it was night and day difference. I mean, crazy night and day difference. Now, if you have to get really, really shallow, that's when I'll throw a 20-pound monofilament. Just because mono doesn't sink, as fast. It does sink. People say it floats, but it does sink. I've tried buckets a million times. It does sink, but it sinks really slow. Versus 4 car, it's it on. So that's the only time if I'm like 2 to 3 feet of water, I'm under that 20-pound, monofilament. But I'll still do the same deal if I can. You always want to be as slow as you can, keeping this right zone as long as you can. That's a big key. Because a lot of times, when your fish are feeding on shad, they work together like there's no end. So it's almost like you have worker bass, then you have eating bass. It's like this. So when they go up and they school together, and I've seen it many times, so I know this. So you have a big bait ball, and if you guys are any good with electronics, where do you always see the bass at? Below the bait balls. Okay? So what the fish do, a lot of times, them largemouth, when they're fruit like that, they run into the bait with their mouth closed. And what they're doing is they're knocking the bait down to the fish below that can feel. It's almost like they take turns. Like if you guys know anything about bees, bees have worker bees, and then bees have bees that, do all the other stuff. It's almost the same concept, it seems like. As weird as that is. I just see that a million times. I've seen it in person. They come up and they knock them down, injure them, and then they eat them. So that's why I want to keep my traps down there in the water column, wherever they're at. Because, hey, there comes a dead shad right by their face, roll nice and natural and slow, boom, got it. And if I miss that one, there's another panic unit, guaranteed. Always happens at B.A.S.S.
When fishing a 1/2 ounce and 3/4 ounce lipless crankbait,
Yep.
what is your go-to rod and reel speed?
Okay. So his question was, what's my go-to rod and reel speed, which is really important. Like I said, so when I'm fishing a 1/2 ounce or 3/4, I throw that 7.2 medium heavy Zodiac glass. Okay. Now reel speed, I'm kind of the opposite. If you guys probably sat in on a French, you probably told you to throw a 5.2 to 1 or something. I don't know if they make 5.2 to 1s anymore because nobody really throws them that much. I go 8.1 to 1, quick. And the reason I do the quick is because even if I reel super duper slow, it's still got enough speed to keep that bow. But a lot of times, especially throwing swim baits, you'll feel knock right at you. They'll come right at you. And when they do that, they knock and they come at you, I got to make sure I got enough reel. I can catch that fish right into them. That's a big, big time player. Having speed, super speedy reel. And especially for flipping. If you're throwing anything slower than a 7 foot or 7, 2 ratio or something, you just about don't have to mount. Because a lot of times, you're flipping like a match or something. I flip to the outside corner of that mat. You're only going maybe 10 feet in front of the boat. That fish gets it, he goes to the trolling motor. I need to make sure I got the rod, I got the reel, and I got the fish. Like I said, you gotta be in control. If you're not in control, you're gonna lose the key fish, they're probably gonna turn in a long time. We always fish on a degree when I lost plenty of fish, but if I can somewhat prevent losing a fish, I'm pretty good. It's almost like it's somewhat of a controlled variable. It's like changing the line up before the tournament. There's something you have to do. So any more questions guys about that? Anybody? Yes.
One more. So like Ishan and Oliver was talking about for those stops frog and swim bait, and they hit it to grind it and bring it in aggressively
Yes.
for multiple reasons. The lipless crankbait, what kind of technique do you do? When you sweep into them,
Yes.
do you play them or do you try and force them in?
No,
as fast
once,
as
like I said, once I know I have the right setup and I sweep into that fish, I almost feel like I know that I got it. So it's more or less keeping that bow in the rod. You never, with any kind of crankbait, you don't want to horse and pepper them. You kind of get them, do your thing. If they start to do like a little bit of a jog, a big fish in general, like you'll know 9 times out of 10, like, oh, this is a big one. You can feel it. That's when I'll be like either when I get him almost to the boat, if he starts to do a loop, I might do a hair of a horse on him. I might pull him a little bit, to try to persuade him and tell him I'm the boss here. And then But most of the time, it's just like, get them up. If I see he's looking real good, I'll either go grab him or put him in the boat. But if he's not looking real good, that's the only time I'll say that I'll walk and play and wear him down. Because with a bass, like you guys probably know, you grab that belly of that bass, he's not going to move. They just go like, let the move, you grab that belly. Any more questions? I mean, you guys, yes, sir.
When you're fishing your rattle trap, are you ripping them through reeds?
Yes.
Grass?
So, I fish a place called the Upper Bay Lake all the time, which is generally, besides this year, pretty much, it's jam-packed with hydrilla, milfoil, blah, 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 no grass. Yes, I fish in the grass a lot. So I have a rule of thumb for basically chatterbait, swim jig, and a rattle trap. If I'm throwing that bait out there on my 20-pound fluorocarbon, and I'm A, having trouble getting it through, or B, when I get it back, I can't blow any of the grass off, I pump my rod, that's when I'm gonna braid. I'll put that trap on braid, no problem out there. And the cool part about braid and grass, you know, once it gets thick, like if I throw my swim jig out there, I start reeling it, and that fish is aggressive, he's already hot coming into it, and he hits it, and he takes me around that grass, what's a braid gonna do? Cut the grass right out of the way, it's me and the fish, you know what I'm saying? So my rule of thumb basically is, I only let it braid when I have to. I like to throw fluorocarbon, you know, it's invisible. So just keep that in your mind. When you're fishing and you feel like you're getting beat by something, the grass, the fish is getting leverage on you, that's when I get a braid. Or obviously if I'm doing that fishing, I throw a braid. You know, you need something that's gonna hit that fish, get him out. You have to throw a braid. So, good question. Any more questions?
What pound braid do you throw at the trap?
Okay, so basically he asked what pound braid I put a trap on. Rattle trap, I throw a lot on 30. A lot, because 30-pound test on a rattle trap, you don't want to go too far over the top. 30-pound test allows you to cast it a mile. That's the cool part about braiding. Cast it forever, especially trap. But you know, I generally don't go over 30 on that. As far as the swim jig and chatterbait, 40 most of the time. But I will still throw on 32. There has been times to where I was in a tournament situation and I had boats everywhere around me, and I was throwing a heavier braid, like I was throwing like a 50 or 60, and I wasn't really getting bites. There's guys from that fishing kind of around me, they were catching like 2.5. I went down to 30-pound braid, caught 22 pounds, like that. So them little subtle differences sometimes, you know, not only does that lighter braid allow the bait to fall more natural, you know, it's not getting hung in the grass when it falls down, but it just gives it, you know, a different look altogether. Sometimes you got to pay attention to that kind of stuff too. You know, when you're not getting bit, you go there, change something subtle. If it's a color or if it's your line. The line a lot of times is a big player in a lot of stuff. Changing the line out. That's why we have 30,000 rods with all different line on it. Just for that reason. You know. So, any more questions, guys? Yes.
How about brands of rattle traps? Do you only throw red eye, or what types of rattle traps?
Well, brands. I can probably say I probably caught more fish on a red eye than anything. And sexy shad is probably the most common color that it seems to work everywhere. The one really cool thing about white that I think is kind of overlooked too, white works incredibly well in dirty water. You know, if you ever put a white rattle trap in real dirty water, it literally has a white glow around it. They can see that white works. You know, in the Northeast it works great, I think, for that reason. Plus it also is just awesome color to begin with, plus the trap itself is, you know, one of the best ones I've ever thrown. I do throw Bill Lewis a little bit, but I think, you know, Trekking's got a lot of stuff figured out. You know, they do. They really do. They got a lot of good baits. You can't deny that. So, more questions, guys? How many of you guys fish tidal water? You guys fish separate bed. How many of you guys hate water? Well, I tell you, it's man, for most people that don't live on it, it's probably one of the most, in my opinion, one of the best places to fish. But as far as outsiders coming into it, it's one of the worst places to fish. I mean, look at tournament stats for that place. You got 5 guys dead whacked them, and everybody else is scratching for a limit. But if you're a local, you ever see local tournaments there, you know, the Rams and all this fishing, you know, 20 a place is 20 pounds. So it's not that the place is kind of fish. It's that the biggest thing on the Upper Bay, and you know, this is the biggest thing everywhere I fish, but guiding on the Upper Bay, one of the biggest things that I can tell you that is a factor is the wind. And I'm not saying the wind and what it does as far as, push the fish here, push the fish here. It's knowing which areas are going to be blown out, more or less. I'll give you an example. This is a good example. So let's say you're on a unbelievable bite in the creek in the northeast, okay, which I'm sure a lot of you guys probably fish that creek. Let's say you go in there on a Wednesday and you catch like 20 pounds. You're like shaking them all. Like, oh my God, I'm going to win the tournament. The next day you go back, you don't catch squat. And almost all the time, and the reason for that would be, so on the Upper Bay, it always seems to be like 12, 13, 14, 15 mile an hour up. If you get a wind that's going to be a southwest wind, what's that going to do? That's blowing into the northeast now. What's that allowing the water? The water can't come out of the creek. So it's doing one of these. It's crashing. What's that going to do to a tidal fish? Negative mood. They don't eat. So understanding the wind like that is what I'm trying to tell you. Stuff like that. And there's probably 5 or 6 different scenarios on the Upper Bay that are just like that. And a handful of those guys understand that. We might go out there, like I said, we might have a crazy practice. Then we see the weather and we're like, oh, now I gotta go over here. Because we just know, don't even waste your time. You might go up there and get 1 or 2 bites, but that's it. So there are kind of things in fishing that I can say are probably one of the biggest things to figure out is just Mother Nature. Because Mother Nature dictates everything that animals do. I don't care if it's turkey or trash or whatever it is. They're all the same. So it's just, yes.
You run the tide, you're down there, you're just down there.
So, the Upper Bay?
And if you do, you waste a lot of time doing that fishing.
On the Upper Bay?
Yeah.
Okay, so his question was, do I run the tides on the Upper Bay? Yes, but I will tell you about the Upper Bay. Upper Bay has about, that much of the tide swim. It's not really that big. So on a tidal system, what that's going to do is make your windows of opportunity a lot bigger versus a place like the Delaware River where it falls 8 feet, because you go back an hour later and you 2 feet out of the water. So the Upper Bay was such a small tide swing. I told a few guys, I basically fish the bay almost like a lake. That's how I fish a lot. As far as running tides, yes. I will sometimes, depending what time of year it is, what the bite is, I will run down to the SAS, I will do this, I'll do that, and I'll run it back if I can, best I can. Where it plays a factor at, I would say in the Northeast, one of the biggest things to tell you about the Northeast, you want high water in the Northeast, because I think a lot of the fish on the Upper Bay are very channel oriented, live out in the center. One good reason why I can tell you that is, the only way this will probably ever get exposed, and I'll probably hurt myself by saying this, because maybe some of you guys don't follow me, but if there's ever an Elite Series tournament there, and I'm fishing and I got video coverage, I found something on the Upper Bay that nobody knows about. I'm the only one who knows about it. Some guys, I took a few guys out on guide trips to it, but that is it. There's something out there on the Upper Bay, but the reason I say a limited channel is this. It's a deep water spot, but it shines at high tide. And the reason why I think it shines at high tide is because the channel fish are finally moving up. With the low water, I can't get bit on it, and it's still on 8, 9 inches of water. So that's why I think a lot of them fish with the channel. So in the Northeast, a lot of the fish that are just, there's not really a defined channel in the Northeast, but there is variations. So on that high water in the Northeast, that is when they'll be in the docks. Otherwise, unless you're in Arundels, where you have deep water at every tide, or a couple select docks, don't waste your time in this part. So, questions, guys? Yes.
You're out on the flats.
Yep.
It's 1 o'clock.
Yep.
Sunny.
Yep.
Tide's up.
Yep.
Isolated mats.
Ooh, nice.
They will not come out after I'm on a frog.
Well,
How
my
do you-
first thing
How
I'll
do you
say
get a
is,
reaction out of those fish that are...
what time of year are you there? Obviously, it's probably
This is
July,
summer.
August.
No, this is July.
Okay, so generally, I get them on the frog a lot of times, like you're saying. A lot of times, it'll come down to as simple as just throwing a Senko, to the edge and just playing this game. Because a lot of times, when you get 12-inch fish, where do you pick up? A Senko. And it's the same scenario out there. When they're aggressive, That's another thing too. So when I get a flood tide on the Upper Bay, and the flat's been fishing normal, there's good grass out there. When I get a flood tide, I am on that flat, and a lot of guys go the opposite way. Because most of the time, on a flood tide situation on the Upper Bay, them fish actually get really high in the grass. They'll sit on top of the grass basically. So in my opinion, they're way easier to catch on a flood tide. Like when I do guide trips, when I get a flood tide, I'm like, yes, because they're going to catch a lot of fish. I throw a swim jig a lot. I throw a watermelon swim jig. A lot of guys don't throw that swim jig. That's why I throw a lot. It's like a watermelonish, and then trailer wise, I throw a Zako a lot. Yamamoto Zako. If I throw a chatterbait, that's kind of exclusively the only jig jar that I throw a lot of out there most of the time. I'm on a swim jig bite. Ryan does make this swim jig, but I'm not sure if it's the action or the color. It's like a black purple. You can't tell it's purple people, but there's something about that. I don't know if it matches maybe a bluegill out there, the dark colors have on your bottom, but a black blue swim jig with that Ryan color works phenomenal for me. I'm telling you guys, dude, this is what I do. Seriously. One of the other guys asked a bit ago, one of the big things I can tell you about on the flat, and it's a good, telltale sign with the throw. A lot of times if I'm throwing the spinnerbait out there or the chatterbait out there, and if you've been out there, you've probably seen this, when you pull it up and you got 5 or 6 perch behind it, there are going to be 2 kind of perch, yellow perch or white perch. So you might be throwing something gold, or you're going to something white. I show you not have moving now, but I basically, I call them gold, that's why I call them chatterbaits. I throw a gold chatterbait, gold plate, gold head, gold hook, gold skirt, gold trailer. It's gold. You pull by, it's like 24 carats. One for your girl, there's probably up to 1 4 that's how it looks, but man, when you pull up, I call it raccoon perch. You pull with a yellow perch. What do you see? You see gold. A little bit of green, you see gold turn off the flash. That's what you're throwing them. And spinnerbait wise, one of the biggest spinnerbaits I throw out there, I throw a war eagle. Nothing crazy, just chartreuse and white. I don't care if the water is jig clear, a lot of times I like that chartreuse and white. Chartreuse and white both ways. It's just a killer for me. I can't tell you how many times I've been out there and I'm like, oh my God. Just because I got another one, and they're all big. It's just stupid. So.
Ever used a weighted wacky out there?
Weighted wacky? Yeah, sometimes. One of the biggest things that I do out there, so once the main concentration of fish gets on the flat, when I do guide trips, this is kind of me during a guide trip. And I don't fish at my guide trips. I hardly ever. People have begged me a lot of times. And sometimes I might pick up a rod, but I don't usually fish. They'll be in the back of the boat, throwing a swim jig, doing their thing. When that water gets down out there and the grass is normal and it's clear, this is what I do. Throw in the trolling motor. I got my bail open. I got this finger sitting in the hook, and I sit over the Senko because I'm going through the grass. I'm like, oh, get a 500. Throw it out there. I give him a rod, like he's got it. They catch it because there's so many fish.
Weightless?
Yeah, just weightless, green pumpkin or black blue, it don't matter. But I can't tell you how many fish I caught. I can't tell you how many fish I casted at and had my clients catch this year that are all 4 or 5. Just doing that. And I'm in a tournament situation. Here's me in a tournament. Here's what I'm doing. I'm not even paying attention to what I'm throwing. I'm looking all around for these bass that are in the grass swimming around because dude, you get a lot of kickers that way. It's just being aware of your surroundings. But generally, that's on a lot of times after the spawn, it's warm, it's nice out, the water's really clear, everything you can see. Some days I see them, but I can't get them. And one of the biggest things I can tell you about tidal water. So let's say I go out on the flat. Let's say I have a medium tide falling, okay? And how many of you guys have been on the flat and saw fish? Anybody? Okay. Like see them swimming around? So a lot of times, them fish, if you can't get them to bite, it's as simple as this. Like, if you see that fish out there and he's literally on the bottom swimming, they're not feeding. That fish, when it's feeding, when I'm throwing my Senko out there, they're on top of the grass and they're swimming. A lot of times I'll see a big old black head just coming down like, because I know when he's on top of that grass, I got him. I know he's gonna bite. They're on top of the grass and they're actively feeding. Now, in any tidal situation, same way the James River is, it's no different. Okay. Now, as far as river systems go, where you catch most of your fish at? 1 to 2 feet of water, pretty shallow. Don't ever rule out deep water on a river. On the upper bay, I got one spot, it's 34 feet of water. Smallmouth, largemouth, they're all there. Super deep. It's got a weird name. I won't say I laugh. We've got girls inside here, but it's got a weird name. Help me afterwards. But so the James River, which I don't have a lot of experience on, but I have a lot of sea time scanning. And I figured out with the James River that even though it's got about a 4 or 5 foot tide drop, I can still fish that place the same way I fish a lake. Scan around, all the stuff that I fish in tournaments there, I generally never have one person around me because they're not thinking the same way that I think. I'm offshore, I'm in 12 feet of water, and 50 feet of water on drop shot, like you would on a lake. And all these largemouth, yeah, they might go up the bead and they're gonna catch at some point today, maybe if they're lucky. But I'm catching the fish that are just hanging out doing their deal down deeper. I do them like a lot. That's how I catch them. And on the upper bay, I scanned and I scanned and I scanned until I found the one thing on the one area, and there's a lot of ballast, old ballast in the northeast. And maybe some of you guys know where they're at. Big, huge rock piles out in the middle of nowhere. Let me tell you something. The release program, they load up. All the fish being dropped in the northeast. And also, it seems like in September, when now that bait starts to work its way back up into the creek and stuff, they just load up, man. You throw a big crack bait, boom, boom, you got another one. Like, it's just ridiculous. People just don't think outside the box. We all, a lot of times, try to either do what everybody else is doing or how everybody else has won tournaments. You can keep that in the back of your head, but you gotta fish for yourself. If you're good at something, do it that way. You know, it's always good to go into something with confidence, not trying to chase a bite. You know, I learned a long time ago, don't chase a bite because it's so hard to duplicate if somebody is not physically showing you how to do it. It's really hard, and it's hard mentally more than anything. Because you're trying to make something happen that you don't know how to make it happen, more or less. You know, my first tournament's coming up here in a couple weeks down on the St. John's River. I told a couple guys, a big hurricane came through there 2 years ago called Matthew, and it basically wiped away a lot of the grass in the river, if not all of it, which was the primary bite on the St. John's River. Now, since that happened, a lot of these fish, and probably always have been, a lot of these fish are getting offshore and they're using shell beds like they would on the Tennessee River. That's how they're catching a lot of these fish. I got 3 more days of practice in this body of water. Probably not going to spend it chasing shell beds. I'm going to chase it using all my river experience on what I know how to do, and I'm going to apply it to there. That's how I'm going to catch my fish, more or less. I'm not telling you that's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to go with what I know first and go from there. Okay, yes.
So you're catching state.
As far as the ones that offshore, yeah. So not only state you're
fishing deeper water.
yes, they're not only staging, they're living.
They're
Living. So, you know, the saying is, when you feed the bank, you're only fishing for 10% of the fish in the lake. True statement. How many times you went down a bank and you flip, and all of a sudden, down. Okay? Where's all the other fish at? They're behind you. That's where they live. It's their house. You don't just sit in your kitchen all life, do you? Same thing. You know, that's just how it is. So don't ever, and I know I'm telling you this, but the only way for you guys to start getting good at it is to start actually applying it a little bit. You know, go to a body of water that you know really, really good, and then, you know, get the electronics and go scan around, go find something. Just because you get it one time, you don't get a bite, doesn't mean it's there. Okay? It could not be active feeding, maybe it's the wrong time of year. It's all this stuff you got to play in your head, even though it's really hard to do. Bass fishing is the most mental sport on the face of the earth, period. I don't know anything else besides doing that. I just don't. It's right? You guys are tough. All of them.
We have to.
You're right. And you know, and in their defense, we're stubborn, we're stupid. We're kind of like a we're pretty dumb. But that's just who we are. Anyway, so any more questions, guys? Yes.
Like casting.
Yep.
Or starting your presentation, landing the bait on the water. How do you go about that?
Well, as far as like
say drop shotting, you know, like if you're gonna drop shot against structure or wacky worming.
okay, so drop shotting. So I drop shot a lot, and I drop shot for largemouth a lot. Let's say the northeast again, just to give you an example, or anywhere, even a lake. So if I throw my drop shot in the water, you know, the saying about going as light as you can not only applies to a really subtle fall, but it also applies to noise. You know, if that fish is hanging out in that dock, and you land that weight rear on its head, what's it gonna do? You know, it's not gonna reaction even every time, or just do something like that. It's gonna take off. So a lot of times when I'm drop shotting, I'm around a 1/4 ounce most of the time. you know, I use that 3/8 a lot when I'm just like fishing stuff that's out in the middle of nowhere. That's when I throw the 3/8 more than anything, because I wanted to get down the bottom where I can work it. But I always try to be like, if I'm fishing close quarters, I want to be kind of quiet. So a quarter ounce can be really quiet, and you know, with a spinning rod, it takes a little bit of casting to get it in there. But you know, once you get good at it, you can wait in the back of the dock, the drop shot. So otherwise, you know, if I'm mat fishing or something, if I don't physically have to pop that rig through the mat by throwing it high, I want to kind of land in there kind of quiet as I can, with a sinker inside of there. The only time I can tell you that you really want to, it's a cool little trick. The only time I can tell you that I want to make a presence is when I'm throwing a frog a lot of times. A lot of times, if I get like called cheese, you know, you get a mat that's like super yellow, super thick, and I know that when my frog hits it, I want to be known that it's there. I'll take my frog and I'll load it bees. I will load it. It'll be heavy. I can cast like double distance. Because now when I have that really heavy frog, not only can I get it away from the boat, and it seems like a frog fish, the further away you get, the better it is. Not only can I get away from the boat, now hit that mat, they're looking up. They look up right away and look see what happened. They see that going across now. So not only do they see it now, they're really feeling it and hearing it. So don't be afraid to overload your frogs with bees, because you're fishing a solid mat, you're not going to fall through it. You know what I mean? You want to make that noise on top. Because them bass, a lot of times in mats, but if you got a cold scenario, a little cold snap during the summer or something, a lot of times them bass literally come up and they'll put their back right on the mat because that mat's real warm. Okay, so when I hit that mat, I want them to know that I'm there. You know, it's just something to think about. I'm talking like 20 degrees, I ain't talking 2 or 3, but a lot. So make that thing heavy. Questions? Anybody else?
Greg? Yes. You're talking about drop shot. Do you ever do a power drop shot in vegetation and bait casting?
Yes, I do. I still throw a spinning rod a lot. Yes, a power drop. I do a lot. I still throw a spinning rod. I just up my weight. So Cayuga is a great example of a place that I do that a lot. We're fishing Cayuga this year. I'll probably do drop shot because it's how I catch so many fish that already been caught, pressure, all that good stuff. So a lot of times what I'll do in a grass situation with a drop shot, I'll throw it out there, I'll let it get down, and I'll actually use the boat, and if it's blowing a little bit, I like when it blows like 5 or 6 miles an hour because that actually pushes the boat a little bit. So when I throw a drop shot in grass, I don't really work it a lot of times. I hold my rod and let the boat move, and I kind of just drag it through the grass and move. That's kind of the deal I do in grass. You know, it's more or less the cast. On Cayuga, it's like, I'll throw it out there. I won't bring it back in until I got one. So there's that many fish there, but that's how I catch all the fish there. How I drop them out. Break a foil. Always break a foil. Yes. So Cayuga, it seems like, okay, let's put it this way. If you're in milfoil is like the greatest grass ever. If I had a golf course, it would be milfoil. But so milfoil is so good because not only can you a lot of times get a crankbait through milfoil, milfoil doesn't break or grab. Milfoil just bends as you go through it. So if I can pick milfoil at 3/8 weight, I use 3/8 a lot, like I'm saying. The only time I gotta be quiet is when I have downsides, but otherwise it's always on the 3/8. I always run the pencil ones, you know, the cylinder ones, because the cylinder ones in grass, especially, they'll fall right through, unlike a circle round one. I don't even really know the round ones. They're all the same shape. So when I'm drop shotting under heads, I'm on the same kind because I want that thing to go right down to it and get it. You know, all about the speed, not getting stuck in the grass and all that good stuff. So 3/8 most of the time, you know, unless I'm close quarters, 1/4 or 1/8, something like that. Really subtle. Yep. Yes, yes.
Good brand of braid to put on your drop shot rod.
Good brand of braid. You know, you can't go wrong with Power Pro for sure. Everybody probably throws that a lot. I throw high seas a lot to Grand Slam. That's why I throw. But you know, braid's great. The only time I can tell you braid quality comes into play is when you're flipping mats, like heavy mats. If you guys don't flip mats, if you just throw a traditional, like, you know, 4-carrier braid, a fiber braid, because that's the noise it makes going through the stuff. You buy a really high-end braid, you know, that's got a coating on it. It's like, it's real quiet. You know, them fish, I don't think they know what it is, but they know it's different. They don't seem to like that. The more natural you can get on them types of scenario is basically the only time I buy a better grade of parts, pack the money. Any questions? Yes.
Reading a lot about this Tokyo rig. Have you messed around with that?
So I know the Tokyo rig is. It's to me it's more or less like a glorified J rig. It's just got a little more of a distance between. It's almost like a power drop shot, kind of, just with kind of a little wire there, but it's basically that. Will I throw it? I don't think I'll ever throw it. I really don't. I don't. I know they throw it in Japan and stuff. That's where it's coming from and all that good stuff. The guys in Japan are on a completely different level here. Not that they're better than us fishing wise, but I think their pressure's a lot more. So in Japan they throw a 2-pound test. They throw stuff I'm not even gonna mess with. I already know that. Perfect. I'm not even gonna do that. So yeah, I think it's a cool thing, but I don't think I'll mess with it. Now the Nico rig works really good. That got really popular. I'm sure some of you guys have probably messed around with that. Basically, a glorified, vacuum style with weight cam. That's all it really is, but it's a different presentation. That's another thing too. So if you notice, a lot of stuff that we do in freshwater fishing derives from saltwater, the A-rig, stuff like that. I actually figured out something that I'm going to wait to use it on live on B.A.S.S because I don't know where to steal it. I figured out something from a trip that I went on this year on saltwater. And I don't saltwater fish that much, but I went on one trip and they started doing what they were doing, and I was like, I'm going to use that B.A.S.S fishing. And I actually already used it myself, but I haven't come out and said it yet. But actually, it's just a different presentation. So, if I'm on a lake where I'm finesse fishing, I'm sure you pay attention. I will talk about it. Just some, it's just how my wheels spin all the time. I'm always not just thinking about catching fish, but how else to catch them. That's how I've always been. So, any more questions, guys? Nothing? How many guys are here are smallmouth guys in Upper Susquehanna? Couple. You got the jet boots? The jet boots? I see you guys are on that lower end. So, right now on that Upper Susquehanna, we did a few trips to Muggy Gorge up there. It's like a fish tank. It's cheating. It's so easy. It's the easiest fishing I've ever done in my life. So just reeled it, you got one. That's every single fishing trick that all 4-pounders. It's just sweet as a very place. So, and, the same goes for largemouth. It's all about wintering holes. How many of you guys chase fish, up until when they hit the wintering holes? A lot of you guys know. Yeah. It's one of the coolest ways to catch fish. Not only right now in dead of winter, but like the fall coming in and they start to transition to that wintering hole. It's like the whole lake is gravitating to one spot. It doesn't get any easier. Your biggest fish are in the same spot. To me, it's one of the best times of year to fish. I'm doing stuff in South Jersey. Like I did 3 days in this one place, and I caught 100 fish. Where I live, that's a lot of fish. 20's a lot, but they're all there, and they're just one after another. It's like, oh, another one. It's just so much fun to me. So, I would not ever roll out the winter time because I feel like, personally, I've learned more about bass fishing in the winter than I have during the summer. As weird as that sounds, because you can really see the movements of the fish and how they how they move to all different areas of the lakes until they finally set up in winter holes. It's really cool, So that part of it to me is textbook. That's the textbook part. As far as all the other stuff goes, Bassmaster put out an article last year that said the 5 baits you shouldn't throw but work great. And on the cover of the magazine, it had a buzz bait for wintertime. It had all that stuff. I've been preaching about it for years, even before I saw that. Take everything they're saying in that magazine with a grain of salt, because don't ever rule out if you think something else might possibly work. Because let me tell you something, it works. Big time. The stuff you shouldn't do works great, so just kind of put that aside. Do your thing, and if you think something's gonna work, there's a confidence part coming in. Go try it. So, any more questions, anybody? You guys good? 6 or 7 of you guys are going to walk up with a question afterwards. Don't do that.
I have one more.
Yes.
Back to the little skirt bait.
Yeah.
From your experience, when is like a one knocker versus the typical rattle? Like, can you differentiate, or is it just you just try the different ones?
Yeah, it's more or less like the traditional rattle seems to work. I would say at least 95% of the time. There's only been a couple of times I could think of that the one knocker just but the only reason I changed it up is because I knew I had to do something subtle. Because what I know now wasn't working, so there's probably 3 times, like I said, I went to one knocker, and I just knocked the out of my
Yeah.
car. Just because of that. I wasn't fishing before. So the hard part about fishing is, we try to lighten our boats up the best we can, but then again, we don't want to lose them without having something. So managing your tackle is a whole nother deal we're not going to get into. So that's pretty much it. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a girl question.
Lady first.
I have a girl question. Are there really fish in Union Lake in the wintertime?
Yes, they don't go anywhere. Yes.
What bait do you use?
What's that?
What kind of lure?
So for me on Union, from my winter experience, you know where the stump field is. So if you come out of the ramp, let's say you come out of the ramp, the new ramp, you come out of the ramp, you go down to your right, and there's like a grassy island to the right hand
Oh
side.
yeah.
Just behind that, there's a pile of stumps you can't see underneath the water. A little itty bitty jerkbait works phenomenal. That's probably number one thing. Second would be jigs. I drag jigs here a lot. And they're almost the whole system is in this spot. And because of that, it's an area that has a little bit of deep water right here, but it has a shallower flat, still 3-4 feet of water. It can want feet going back. But it's the area like if there's turn there tomorrow, it will be one right now. Guaranteed. So it's something think in mind and just think about it. If you got electronics, go scan it through. It would be amazing. It's a forest. It's a great area. Plus the logs, all that good stuff, blah blah blah. It's all right there. Yes.
Yeah, you said you used 3/8 chatterbait line.
Yep.
So spinnerbait, buzzbait, complete size.
3/8 most of the time.
For those.
Yeah, the only time I'll jump up on a chatterbait or on a spinnerbait is on a high tide. If I'm tidal fishing. Or I have to put that bait down a little bit deeper. But buzzbait wise, sometimes with the buzzbait, when it's like more or less towards the end of the summer, I'll go down to that quarter buzzbait, a really small one. Because sometimes later in the year, it seems like they just want that little bitty thing over top of the bait. I don't know why, but maybe because it's so pressure to feed on through the course of the year, that they go out fishing. That's really the only time, most times for days. And always usually always black, honestly. Black or silver blade. Yes.
The rod you use for the rail trap,
Yep.
is that the same rod you use for most of your fish?
Yeah, yes. Unless, like I said, if I'm in close quarter, I'll go down to a 7.0, a 7-foot medium. But the 7.2 is basically the number one rod that I throw more than anything. Now, that'll handle a 5XD, no problem too. Anything over 5XD, you want to go to 7.6. Something with a lot more, get into the fish with more gas and do that. Any more questions, guys? What? More questions?
I got all things, so I'm good.
Right there.
Thanks so much, Greg.
Yeah.